The royal hall of Valaris sparkled under countless lights that floated in the air like stars. Its walls were carved from silver stone, engraved with scenes of ancient battles and celestial discoveries. Ambassadors from dozens of alien species filled the grand chamber, their shapes and colors unlike anything humans had imagined. Some had translucent skin that shimmered with inner light. Others had multiple eyes, wings, or appendages that moved with uncanny precision. The air was alive with quiet murmurs and the occasional click, hiss, or hum of alien voices. At the far end of the hall, elevated on a golden dais, Princess Leora stood. She was young, barely 19, with bright eyes that held both fire and warmth. Her silvery blue dress glowed softly under the floating lights, and her presence alone drew attention. The princess had always been known for her intelligence, curiosity, and gentle heart, but today she was about to do something unprecedented. The murmurs in the hall quieted as Leora raised her hand. She looked around at the assembly of noble aliens and advisors, her gaze steady and unwavering. "I have made a decision about my future," she began, her voice clear and strong, "and it will be heard." Some ambassadors leaned forward, intrigued. Others whispered among themselves, unsure what to expect. Royal marriages in Valaris had always been matters of strategy. Alliances were formed, power strengthened, and civilizations were balanced. The princess's words promised disruption. "I declare," Leora said, pausing for effect, "that my future husband must be human." A gasp echoed through the hall. The sound was not of fear alone. It was shock, disbelief, and for some amusement. "Human?" hissed one of the alien nobles, a tall figure with crystalline skin that reflected the hall's light. "You would bind the royal house to a species so rare and fragile?" "Fragile?" Leora repeated, her tone gentle but firm. "Humans are not fragile. They are strong in ways that others do not see. They are brave, curious, and full of creativity. They face challenges no one else dares to face. They invent, they explore, and they care for one another in ways that no law or tradition can teach." An elder advisor, his skin covered in swirling patterns of blue and green, shook his head. "Princess, you understand the politics of this choice? Our alliances, the stability of Valaris, the expectations of centuries? A human cannot hold power as we do." Leora nodded. "I understand. But I cannot marry for politics alone. I will marry someone who inspires me. Someone whose heart matches the courage of our people. That person is human." The hall erupted into whispers. Some aliens looked scandalized, others intrigued. A few of the younger nobles leaned forward with excitement, seeing something revolutionary in the princess's choice. Meanwhile, far from the royal palace, on a distant human colony, a young scholar named Kale read the news on a shimmering news orb. His small room was cluttered with books, gadgets, and half-finished inventions. Kale's heart raced as he listened to Leora's announcement. Humans were rare in the galaxy, often underestimated, and many had never dreamed of royalty noticing them. "This is incredible," Kyle whispered to himself. "A princess wants a human, maybe? Maybe this is my chance." But along with excitement, doubt crept in. Kyle was no soldier, no diplomat, no warrior of legend. He was a scholar, a thinker, someone who spent more time studying the stars than leading armies. How could he possibly stand among the chosen humans who might compete for the princess's hand? Back in the royal hall, Leora continued, "I will not force a human to marry me. They must prove themselves worthy. They must show courage, intelligence, and a heart that values life. Only then will I choose my future husband." A young noble from the Valaris Council stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Your Highness, how do you expect humans to prove themselves? The galaxy is vast, dangerous. They cannot survive the trials we set for royal suitors." "I do not doubt the galaxy is dangerous," Leora said. "That is precisely why humans are remarkable. They face danger with determination. They adapt. They create solutions where others see none. I have seen humans act with courage and wisdom that surpasses many species, and I will give them a chance to show it." Some in the hall shook their heads. This princess was bold, perhaps dangerously so. Yet in her eyes there was a light that no argument could dim. She radiated confidence and vision, and even those who doubted could not deny her conviction. "Very well," said the elder advisor, after a long pause. "If this is your will, princess, we shall respect it, though we do so with great concern." Leora's smile was serene. "Concern is natural. Change is never easy. But the galaxy must see that courage and heart are not limited to a single species. Humans deserve their place among us. That evening, as the hall emptied, Leora walked along the balcony overlooking the city. Towers of crystal reflected the setting suns, and airships floated gracefully through the sky. Her thoughts were not of politics or protests, but of hope. She imagined humans from distant colonies, each unique, each full of potential. Somewhere among them was the person she would choose. She just did not yet know who. Meanwhile, Cale paced his small room, debating what to do. The announcement had reached every human settlement, connected to the galaxy's communication network. Thousands of humans might now consider entering trials, but for Cale it was personal. Could he leave his quiet life of study and step into a world of danger, politics, and challenge? He picked up a small device he had been working on for months, a navigational tool capable of predicting asteroid movements. Perhaps it could help him survive the first trial. He ran simulations, adjusted parameters, and studied every possible outcome. His hands shook with excitement and fear, but his mind was sharp. "All right," Cale said aloud finally. "If humans are going to prove themselves, then I will too." The next morning, the palace gates opened to humans and alien observers alike. Messages had spread. Humans willing to compete for the princess's hand were invited to the capital. Humans from all corners of the galaxy began arriving, each with their own skills, strengths, and dreams. Some were scholars like Cale. Others were explorers, engineers, or pilots. Many had never seen royalty before, much less a princess who valued their species. Leora watched from her balcony, noting the determination in each human's eyes. She felt pride, excitement, and a growing sense of hope. These humans would show the galaxy that bravery, creativity, and compassion were not tied to technology, size, or alien heritage. They were human qualities that could shape the future. As Kyle arrived, his nerves were nearly overwhelming. The palace gates seemed enormous, the crowd intimidating. Yet when he looked at the princess standing on the balcony above, he felt a spark of determination. He was just one human among many, but perhaps his courage and mind could make the difference. Leora's voice echoed through the palace speakers. "Welcome, humans of the galaxy. You are here because you are extraordinary. You will face trials that test your strength, your mind, and your heart. Show us who you are, and prove that humanity is worthy." A murmur of excitement and tension swept through the gathered humans. Some exchanged nervous glances. Others clenched fists in determination. Cale tightened his grip on his device, feeling the weight of both challenge and opportunity. The princess's declaration had sparked more than curiosity. It had ignited a movement. Across the palace and the galaxy beyond, the future was about to change. Humans, long underestimated and overlooked, would now have a chance to prove themselves in ways the galaxy had never seen. And for Princess Leora, the journey had only just begun. She had spoken her heart, defied expectations, and called the galaxy to witness something extraordinary. The question remained, among all these humans, who would rise to meet her challenge? As the suns of Velaris set over the crystal towers, casting golden light over the city, Cale took a deep breath. Tomorrow the trials would begin, and for the first time in his life he felt the thrill of a destiny he could never have imagined. The morning sun bathed the city of Velaris in a soft golden light. From the crystal towers, the view stretched across the bustling capital. Airships glided through the skies, and the streets below were filled with humans and aliens alike, all drawn to witness the extraordinary event the princess had announced. In the grand plaza outside the palace, humans of all kinds had gathered. Some were young and confident, others older and wise. Some were scholars, inventors, pilots, or explorers. Each had traveled light years, hoping for a chance to compete for the princess's hand. Many whispered nervously, uncertain about what lay ahead. Cale stepped carefully through the crowd, holding his small device in his hands. It was a navigational tool he had invented, capable of predicting the movement of dangerous space debris. He had spent hours modifying it, hoping it would give him an advantage in the trials. His heart pounded. He had left behind his quiet life, his books, and his studies. Now, he faced a challenge unlike anything he had ever imagined. The plaza fell silent as Princess Leora appeared on the balcony. Her presence commanded attention, and her eyes scanned the gathered humans. She raised her hand and her voice rang clear across the plaza. "Humans of the galaxy," she said. "Today marks the beginning of a journey. You will face trials that test your courage, your intelligence, and your heart. Only those who succeed will have the honor of meeting me personally and being considered for my choice." A ripple of excitement ran through the crowd. Kale swallowed hard. This was more than he had imagined. "The first trial," Leora continued, "will test your courage and your ability to think under pressure. You will navigate a series of asteroid fields in the outer orbit of Valaris. Many have failed before you, not because they lacked skill, but because they lost focus, fear took hold, or they refused to adapt. Humans, I believe you will succeed where others might fail." Kyle's stomach tightened. Asteroid navigation was dangerous. Even trained pilots from the Galactic fleet struggled with these fields. But he also felt a spark of determination. Humans were known for creativity, improvisation, and quick thinking. Maybe he could find a way. The participants were led to a series of spacecraft designed for the trial. Each ship was equipped with minimal technology, enough to survive, but not enough to dominate. Leora had insisted that the humans demonstrate not only courage, but also ingenuity. Kale entered his small craft, his hands trembling slightly as he adjusted the controls. Around him, other humans checked their ships, murmuring plans, some with confident smiles, others with worried expressions. "Remember," one of the officials called out, "this is not a race to the finish. Survival, creativity, and careful strategy are your keys." The launch began. One by one, the humans were sent into the orbital course, the asteroid field stretching before them like a river of floating stone. Kyle's heart raced as he pushed the throttle forward. The stars were bright against the blackness of space, but the asteroids moved unpredictably, some spinning, some drifting silently. Immediately, the first test began. An asteroid, larger than his craft, veered toward him. Kale's hands flew over the controls. Using the device he had invented, he calculated its trajectory and adjusted his path by a fraction of a degree. The asteroid passed by, close enough to send a shiver down his spine, but without touching his ship. Other humans were not so fortunate. A few collided with smaller rocks, their crafts damaged, forcing them to retreat. Kale felt a pang of sympathy but knew he had no time to dwell. Focus was essential. As he moved deeper into the field, the challenges grew. Asteroids clustered together, creating narrow paths that required precise timing. Sensors on his ship began to warn him of sudden debris showers, remnants of broken asteroids tumbling unpredictably. He adjusted his calculations rapidly, relying not only on his device, but also on his instincts. Humans had an unusual ability to improvise, to see solutions that machines alone could not predict. One particularly dangerous stretch loomed ahead. 2 massive asteroids rotated slowly but could crush a ship if misjudged. Kale paused, analyzing the angles. Many participants hesitated, uncertain which path to take. But Kale remembered something. His mentor once said, "Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite it." He took a deep breath and guided the ship between the 2 rotating stones, adjusting constantly as they moved. The craft shuddered, but he emerged on the other side, unscathed. He felt a surge of confidence. Humans were not the strongest, but they could think, adapt, and endure. Hours passed as Kale maneuvered through the field. Each obstacle tested more than skill. It tested patience, creativity, and emotional control. One participant panicked when a swarm of small meteors appeared. Kyle watched, torn between helping and focusing on his own path. He decided to risk a detour, extending a small energy shield to guide the other ship past the swarm. The grateful human nodded, and together they continued. Finally, Kyle approached the last segment of the field. It was a gauntlet of spinning asteroids and magnetic anomalies designed to confuse sensors and navigation systems. Many human participants were already retreating or struggling. Kyle relied on both his device and his intuition, adjusting his path moment by moment. His heart raced, sweat forming on his brow. But as he emerged from the gauntlet, a wave of relief washed over him. He had completed the first trial. Back on the observation deck, Princess Leora watched with a mixture of admiration and pride. Humans were not meant to dominate with sheer strength or technology, but they had something more subtle: creativity, courage, and determination. Kale, in particular, stood out. He had helped another human, adapted to unpredictable obstacles, and shown a calm mind under pressure. The officials recorded the results, noting the humans who had completed the trial successfully. Kale and a handful of others had survived, their faces a mix of exhaustion and triumph. "This is only the beginning," Leora said quietly to herself. "They have shown courage, but the trials will test more than that." As the humans returned to the palace, they were given time to rest and recover. Kyle wandered the halls, still in awe of the palace's grandeur. He had faced danger, relied on his mind and his instincts, and come out successful. The experience had taught him something valuable. Humans might be small, fragile in appearance, but they could rise to challenges no one else dared face. Over dinner, Kale met other successful participants. They shared stories of near misses, clever solutions, and moments of fear overcome. Despite competition, camaraderie formed naturally. Humans encouraged each other, celebrated small victories, and learned from mistakes. Kyle realized that part of humanity's strength was not just individual courage, but the willingness to help and support one another. In her private chamber, Princess Leora watched reports and images from the trials. Kyle's resourcefulness impressed her deeply. He had not relied on luck or power. He had used intelligence, creativity, and heart. Perhaps he was the kind of human she had hoped for. Though the journey was far from over, that night the city of Valaris glimmered under twin moons. Humans slept in designated quarters, some dreaming of triumph, others of the next challenges. Kyle lay awake, thinking about what lay ahead. The first trial had tested courage. The next trials would test intellect, compassion, and leadership. He knew he must be ready not only to survive, but to lead and inspire. Humans are underestimated, he whispered to himself. But we can rise to anything. The princess's declaration had set in motion more than just a contest for marriage. It had sparked curiosity, admiration, and perhaps even a little fear among the alien elite. They had long seen humans as limited, incapable of true greatness. Yet the trials were proving otherwise. Each human who succeeded challenged centuries of prejudice. Kale, exhausted but determined, realized that this journey was about more than him. It was about showing the galaxy what humans could achieve, through courage, creativity, and a steadfast heart. The next morning, the palace buzzed with anticipation. Humans gathered in the main hall ready for the second trial. It was designed to test intelligence and problem-solving, using ancient alien technology that few understood. Kyle studied the schematics, planning strategies in his mind. He knew that the first trial had only been the beginning. True proof of humanity's worth would require more than bravery. It would require vision, ingenuity, and leadership. As Princess Leora appeared once more, Kyle felt a sense of purpose. He had taken the first step, survived the dangers of the asteroid field, and learned the value of both courage and collaboration. The galaxy was watching, and he would not let humans down. The trials were far from over, and yet Kale already understood a truth that the aliens often overlooked. Humans were adaptable, fearless in spirit, and capable of rising to challenges no one else could imagine. The princess's hope rested on their shoulders, but Kale realized it was not just hope, it was destiny. And so, the second trial awaited, promising new challenges, deeper tests, and opportunities for Kale and the humans to prove that bravery and intelligence together could achieve the extraordinary. The city of Valaris gleamed under the light of its twin suns, but not everyone inside the royal palace welcomed the humans' success. Alien nobles whispered behind closed doors, their crystalline eyes glittering with anger and suspicion. Many had expected humans to fail, to falter in the first trial. Instead, they had survived, and some, like Kale, had excelled. One elder noble, Zorath, whose shimmering skin changed colors with every emotion, leaned toward his advisors. "This cannot stand," he hissed. "The princess is making fools of us all. Humans are weak, unpredictable, and unfit to lead. We must ensure they fail before it is too late." A younger noble with 6 glowing eyes nodded. The next trials will test intelligence and compassion. We can manipulate them, mislead them, confuse them, even sabotage their equipment. They will not know what hit them. Meanwhile, Kale and the other successful humans had been resting, unaware of the conspiracies unfolding. Kale's mind, however, was restless. The first trial had shown him the courage humans were capable of, but he sensed that the challenges ahead would be harder. The second trial was about to begin. It was a test of intelligence and ingenuity, designed to challenge not only knowledge but creativity. The humans were led into a vast chamber filled with alien machines, many of them ancient and enigmatic. Lights flickered across strange symbols, and holographic puzzles hovered in midair. "Welcome, humans," Princess Leora said, standing at the edge of the chamber. "This trial is designed to test your minds. Each puzzle you solve will bring you closer to proving the worth of your species. Observe carefully, think creatively, and work with what you have. Do not rely on force or luck alone." Kale's eyes widened as he scanned the room. The puzzles were unlike anything he had studied. Some required manipulation of light and energy. Others demanded understanding of alien logic and mathematics. Many humans hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Kale took a deep breath. He remembered the lessons from his first trial. Courage was important, but intelligence and adaptability were just as essential. He approached the first puzzle, a series of floating cubes that glowed with shifting colors. Each cube had symbols that needed to align perfectly to open a hidden passage. Other humans tried random combinations, frustrated by the complexity. Kale, however, paused to observe patterns. He noticed that the symbols rotated in a predictable sequence. Carefully, he rotated the cubes in the order he deduced, and with a soft click, the cubes aligned, revealing a glowing doorway. "Good work," a human whispered nearby. Some began following Kale's methodical approach. Instead of rushing, they studied each puzzle, analyzing patterns and testing hypotheses. Humans were not the strongest, but they were adaptable and persistent. However, Zorath and his allies were already at work. Through hidden channels, they adjusted some of the puzzles, creating false patterns and illusions designed to mislead the humans. One puzzle, a floating sphere of light and energy, suddenly changed its behavior. Its colors shifted unpredictably, and its movements seemed to defy logic. Several humans panicked, withdrawing from the puzzle entirely. Kale's mind raced. He had learned early on that fear and confusion were dangerous. He studied the sphere carefully, noticing subtle clues in its flickers and vibrations. Instead of relying on the expected patterns, he combined observation with intuition. Slowly, step by step, he manipulated the sphere, guiding it to its correct position. The sphere glowed brightly, signaling success. Some humans stared at Kale with awe. He was not only solving puzzles, but also teaching others, showing them that patience, creativity, and careful observation could overcome deception. As they progressed, the challenges grew harder. One puzzle required moving enormous beams of energy through a labyrinth, where even a single miscalculation could reset the entire system. Kale devised a simple method. He mapped the labyrinth in his mind, predicted the beam's movements, and synchronized his actions with the other humans. Together, they completed the puzzle, their success drawing surprised gasps from the observing aliens. But Zorath was not finished. He activated a hidden mechanism in the chamber, releasing a swarm of small hovering drones designed to interfere with the humans' devices. Many panicked, their instruments disrupted, but Kale thought quickly. Using reflective panels nearby, he redirected the energy of the drones, causing them to collide harmlessly with one another. The other humans watched, amazed at his ingenuity. Princess Leora, watching from the balcony, felt a mixture of pride and excitement. Kale's actions were extraordinary. Not only did he solve the puzzles, but he also demonstrated leadership, helping others and showing courage under pressure. Humans were proving themselves in ways the galaxy had never expected. The final challenge of the trial was revealed. A simulation of a failing alien city, with systems breaking down and inhabitants in danger. The humans were given control over repair mechanisms and asked to stabilize the city before it collapsed completely. Many humans froze at the sight of the complex systems, but Kale quickly analyzed the data, assigning tasks to the others according to their strengths. "Work together," he said. "We can handle this. Focus on what you understand and we will succeed." Under his guidance, the humans coordinated. Some repaired energy conduits, others stabilized structural weaknesses, and a few rerouted power to critical areas. Kale himself worked on synchronizing the city's sensors, predicting failures before they occurred. Slowly the city stabilized, systems returning to normal, and simulated citizens safe once more. The chamber erupted in cheers, not from humans alone but from some aliens who had begun to respect the ingenuity and courage on display. Kale's leadership had turned a chaotic situation into success, proving that humans could rise to challenges beyond their size or technology. Yet, even as the humans celebrated, Zorath's eyes burned with anger. His plans for sabotage had failed, and the humans had shown qualities he could not deny. He clenched his fists, vowing that the next trial would not be so easily overcome. Kale, unaware of the growing threat, felt both relief and exhilaration. The first trial had tested courage, the second intelligence and teamwork. Humans were proving that their greatest strength lay not in physical power, but in creativity, adaptability, and collaboration. Later, as Kale rested in the palace gardens, he reflected on the events of the day. He thought about the strange puzzles, the unexpected traps, and the moments when fear had threatened to overwhelm him. Yet each time he had relied on observation, analysis, and courage to persevere. Humans were underestimated across the galaxy, but he now understood why. Their potential was hidden until it was needed most. Princess Leora approached quietly, her presence as calming as it was commanding. "You have done well, Kale," she said softly. "Your mind and your heart are remarkable. I see in you the qualities that make humans exceptional." Kale bowed respectfully, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. "Thank you, Your Highness. I only did what any human would do when faced with a challenge." "No," Leora said, smiling. "Not all humans would. But those who do, they remind the galaxy that courage and intelligence are not bound by size, species, or technology. They are bound by spirit." The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the palace grounds. Humans and aliens alike began to understand that something was changing. The trials were not merely a contest for marriage. They were a demonstration of human potential, an example of how creativity, courage, and collaboration could overcome even the most difficult challenges. Yet danger still lingered. The alien nobles, jealous and threatened, had not given up. Zorath and his allies would not tolerate a human triumph without resistance. Kale and the other humans had survived the first trials, but the path ahead was uncertain. Sabotage, deception, and danger awaited them, testing not just skill and courage, but resilience and determination. That night, Kyle stared at the stars from his chamber window. He thought of the trials to come and the risks they would bring. He understood that survival alone was not enough. Humans would need to inspire, lead, and prove that their value extended far beyond what anyone had imagined. In the distance, the palace's crystal towers reflected the twin moons, a reminder of the beauty and challenge of the galaxy. Kale clenched his fists, ready to face whatever lay ahead. "We are humans," he whispered to himself. "We adapt, we create, we endure, and we will rise to meet every challenge." Princess Leora, looking from her balcony, shared the same determination. The humans were proving themselves, and she knew that the future she envisioned, one where humans were respected, admired, and celebrated, was beginning to take shape. And so, as the night deepened and the city slept, the stage was set. The next trial would test human compassion and leadership, and Kale would face challenges more difficult than anything yet. But he was ready. He knew that humans, underestimated though they might be, could achieve greatness in ways the galaxy had never seen. The rising threat of alien sabotage loomed, but Kale and his fellow humans had already begun to shine as symbols of courage, ingenuity, and hope. The princess's vision was becoming reality, and the galaxy would not be able to ignore the extraordinary potential of humanity. The morning sun rose slowly over Velaris, painting the city in shades of gold and rose. The air was crisp, carrying the faint hum of airships above the palace. Humans had survived the first two trials, proving courage, intelligence, and collaboration. Yet the final trial awaited, and it was unlike anything they had faced before. Princess Leora stood on the balcony, gazing down at the human participants gathered in the central plaza. Their faces were tense, but determined. The final trial was designed not only to test skill or intellect, but to reveal the qualities of heart, compassion, and leadership. Leora knew that these were the traits that defined humans at their best. "Today," she announced to the crowd, You will face a challenge that will test everything you have learned. You will lead, make decisions, and show your character in the face of real danger. The trial will not only test your skill, it will test your heart. The humans listened carefully. Kale's pulse quickened. He had survived danger, solved complex puzzles, and guided others through chaos. But this trial promised a deeper challenge. It was not enough to act alone. They would need to inspire, protect, and lead. The participants were led to the edge of the capital, where a fleet of transport ships waited. Each ship carried supplies, tools, and equipment necessary for the challenge ahead. Leora addressed them one last time. "A planet near the outer colonies is in danger," she explained. "A sudden storm has trapped an alien settlement. Your task is to reach the planet, rescue as many inhabitants as possible, and ensure their safety. You will face obstacles, unknown terrain, and time pressure. The success of this trial will show who possesses courage, leadership, and compassion." Kale exchanged a glance with the other humans. This was no simulation. Lives were at stake, even if artificial, and the pressure was intense. He took a deep breath, steadying his thoughts. Humans thrived in challenges where creativity and teamwork were essential. This was their moment. The transport ships launched, ascending smoothly into orbit. Kyle's hands moved instinctively over the controls, guiding his ship with precision. The stars stretched ahead, vast and endless, while sensors scanned the storm-swept planet below. The storm was violent, with swirling winds, electromagnetic anomalies, and sudden lightning strikes. It was easy to imagine how any ordinary pilot would panic. But Kale did not panic. He relied on his knowledge, intuition, and the device he had invented. It helped predict turbulence and safe paths through the storm. As he navigated, he noticed the other humans struggling with unexpected magnetic distortions. Kale called out instructions, guiding them through the safest passages. Once they reached the planet's surface, the real test began. The settlement was isolated on a plateau, partially shielded by the storm, but at risk from landslides and collapsing structures. Alien families waited, frightened and uncertain. Some of the humans froze, unsure how to proceed. Kale, however, organized teams. "Form groups," he instructed. "One team stabilizes structures. One team guides the inhabitants to the safe zones. One team monitors the storm for new hazards. We work together, step by step." The humans followed his guidance, inspired by his calm and confidence. Kale moved among them, offering advice, encouragement, and quick solutions. Where others saw chaos, he saw patterns and possibilities. Slowly, the humans began to act as one cohesive unit. Zorath and his allies, watching from hidden observation points, seethed. "They are too organized, too effective," one hissed. "The humans should be failing. This was supposed to be impossible." Kyle's team worked tirelessly. Some humans used ropes and temporary supports to prevent buildings from collapsing. Others coordinated with the inhabitants, calming them, giving clear instructions, and moving them to safe shelters. Kale's navigational device helped predict areas most at risk from the storm, allowing teams to avoid danger. At one point, a large piece of debris threatened to block the escape route. Panic rippled through the group. Kyle acted quickly. He directed several humans to push the debris using energy tools while others created a temporary bridge. The operation succeeded. Everyone passed safely. As the day progressed, the storm worsened. Lightning struck nearby cliffs and sudden tremors shook the ground. The humans had to adapt continuously. Kyle noticed one young participant, exhausted and scared, refusing to help further. Instead of scolding, Kale knelt beside them. "Look at what you've already accomplished," he said softly. "Your courage matters, your decisions matter. We need you, not just for strength, but for heart. You can do this." The young participant nodded, tears in their eyes, and rejoined the group with renewed determination. Kale realized that leadership was not just about giving orders. It was about inspiring, encouraging, and believing in others. Humans could lead with heart, and this trial was proving it. Meanwhile, Princess Leora observed quietly from the observation platform. Kale's actions confirmed everything she had believed about humans. Courage alone was admirable. Intelligence alone was useful, but compassion and leadership, these were qualities that set humans apart. Kale embodied them all. The final obstacle emerged suddenly. A landslide blocked the main escape path, and the storm's intensity made alternative routes dangerous. Panic threatened to spread among both the humans and the alien inhabitants. Kyle assessed the situation quickly. "We can create a safe passage," he said. "We will use the tools we have and work together. Everyone, follow my lead." The humans coordinated immediately. Some cleared smaller debris, others reinforced temporary bridges, and a few carried frightened inhabitants across unstable ground. Kale supervised, giving precise instructions and adjusting plans as needed. Step by step, the group moved through the landslide area safely. When the final group reached the safe zone, cheers erupted. The storm still raged, but the settlement had been saved. Lives had been protected, and humans had demonstrated courage, intelligence, and compassion in a way no one could deny. Kyle finally allowed himself to breathe. Exhausted but exhilarated, he looked around at the humans and alien inhabitants alike. Their faces were filled with gratitude, relief, and admiration. This was more than a trial. It was a demonstration of what humans could achieve when they combined skill, heart, and determination. Princess Leora descended to the surface, her expression proud and serene. She approached Kyle and spoke softly. "You have shown not only courage and intelligence, but leadership and compassion. This is the heart of humanity, and you have proven it." Kyle bowed humbly. "I only did what humans do best. We face challenges, we adapt, and we help one another. That is who we are." The princess smiled. "And that is why I believe humanity is extraordinary. You have proven what I hoped you could, Kyle. You have inspired me, and you have inspired others. The galaxy must see what humans can achieve." Even the watching aliens began to acknowledge the humans' accomplishments. Zorath and his allies could no longer deny the evidence. Humans were capable of courage, intelligence, and leadership, far beyond what many had imagined. The princess's bold declaration was more than a personal choice. It was a challenge to the galaxy's assumptions, and the humans had risen to meet it. That evening, as the storm subsided and the skies cleared, humans and alien observers gathered around the palace for the final announcements. The trials were complete, and the results were undeniable. Humans had proven their worth, not through raw power or advanced technology alone, but through creativity, courage, and heart. Kale stood quietly reflecting on the journey. The first trial had tested courage, the second intelligence and problem-solving, and the final trial had tested compassion and leadership. He understood now that humans were underestimated not because they lacked strength, but because their true strengths were subtle, unpredictable, and profound. Princess Leora approached Kale once more, her eyes shining. "The trials are complete," she said. "You have demonstrated what it means to be human in the fullest sense. Now, the time comes for the final choice." Kale felt a mixture of awe and humility. The trials had been difficult, dangerous, and exhausting, yet they had shown the galaxy what humans could do. For the first time, humans were seen not as fragile or secondary, but as capable, inspiring, and extraordinary. And as he looked around, at the humans who had stood beside him, he realized that the journey had not been about one person alone. It had been about the potential of a species, the courage to rise and the heart to lead. Humans had proven themselves, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The princess's vision had begun to take shape. Kyle and the other humans had shown the extraordinary potential of humanity, not through domination but through bravery, creativity, compassion, and leadership, and the galaxy watched in wonder, recognizing that something extraordinary had begun. The final trial was complete. The question remained, who would the princess choose? And what new era of respect and recognition would humans step into now that their potential had been revealed to the entire galaxy? The twin suns of Valaris rose over the crystal towers, casting long beams of light across the city. The palace was alive with activity, more so than ever before. Humans from distant colonies had proven themselves in the trials. Their courage, intelligence, and heart had astonished everyone. Now the moment of choice had arrived. Princess Leora stood on the balcony overlooking the plaza, her silver-blue dress catching the morning light. The gathered crowd was a mixture of humans and aliens, their eyes filled with anticipation. Whispers and murmurs rippled through the assembly. The trials had ended and the results were clear. But the princess's decision would determine the future of the kingdom and perhaps of humanity's place in the galaxy. Kale stood among the humans, his heart racing. He had faced dangers that tested courage, solved puzzles that challenged intelligence, and led a rescue operation that demanded compassion. He felt a mixture of pride, nervousness, and humility. He had done his best, but now it was out of his hands. Princess Leora raised her hand and the plaza fell silent. "The trials have shown something extraordinary," she began. "Humans have proven themselves in ways I never doubted, but the galaxy has never seen before. They have shown courage, creativity, intelligence, and heart. They have risen to challenges that many believed impossible." She paused, her eyes scanning the faces before her. Kale met her gaze, and for a moment the noise of the crowd faded. The trials had tested much, but this final moment was about trust and vision. "The choice of my future husband is not only a personal matter," Leora continued, her voice steady. "It is a declaration to the galaxy that humans are not secondary, not fragile, and not limited. Humans are capable of extraordinary deeds, and the person I choose will embody the best of humanity." The crowd watched, holding their breath. Even the alien nobles, some reluctant and skeptical, could not deny the human accomplishments displayed during the trials. The first trial had tested courage. The second had tested intelligence and ingenuity. The final trial had tested leadership, compassion, and heart. Humans had passed them all. Leora stepped closer to the edge of the balcony. "I have watched each of you. Some of you showed skill, some of you showed brilliance, some of you showed heart. But one human has shown all these qualities and more. That human has inspired me, inspired others, and reminded the galaxy of the true potential of humanity." Kale felt his heart thump in his chest. Could it be him? He had only tried to do his best. He had never imagined being chosen by a princess in a galaxy-wide contest. Leora's eyes softened as she looked at him. "Kyle, you have demonstrated courage when faced with danger, intelligence when confronted with puzzles that no other human could solve, and compassion that led others to safety. You have shown leadership that inspired both humans and aliens alike. You embody the qualities that make humanity extraordinary." A hush fell over the crowd. Kale stepped forward, his knees slightly shaking. He had never expected this. He looked at Leora, who gave him a gentle nod full of warmth and confidence. "Kale," she said, "I choose you as my future husband." Gasps, cheers, and applause erupted through the plaza. Humans and aliens alike celebrated the choice. Some aliens looked stunned, but even they could not ignore the proof before them. Humanity had risen. Humanity had earned recognition. Kale bowed deeply, feeling a mix of humility and pride. "Your Highness," he said quietly, "I am honored. I will do my best to live up to your trust and the example of all humans who have shown courage, intelligence, and heart." Leora smiled, her eyes shining. "I know you will, Kale. Together we will lead in a way that honors not only humanity but the entire galaxy. Courage, creativity, and compassion will guide us, and humans will have their rightful place among the stars." Across the plaza, the humans cheered. Many hugged, laughed, and celebrated. For the first time in history, humans had not only survived interstellar trials but had been chosen by royalty, gaining recognition across the galaxy. Kale's victory was not just personal. It represented the potential of every human everywhere. Even the alien nobles who had doubted humans were forced to acknowledge their achievements. Zorath and his allies watched silently, their expressions a mix of disbelief and begrudging respect. The trials had changed the balance of perception. Humans were no longer secondary participants in the galaxy. They were equals, capable of bravery, leadership, and ingenuity. The celebrations continued throughout the day. The palace held a grand feast where humans and aliens mingled, sharing stories of the trials and newfound respect. Kale moved among the guests, humbled by the admiration and grateful for the friendships formed during the challenges. Princess Leora joined him during the feast, walking through the crowds with grace and warmth. "The galaxy will watch what humans can achieve," she said softly, "and we will show them that courage, intelligence, and heart can shape the future." Kyle nodded. "The trials have taught me much," he replied. "Not just about surviving danger, but about leading, helping others, and believing in what humans can do. We have proven our worth, but this is only the beginning." Leora smiled. "Indeed, Kyle, this is only the beginning. Together, we will inspire humanity and the galaxy to reach heights never imagined." Over the next weeks, the story of the trials and the princess's choice spread across the stars. Humans were celebrated in colonies and cities far and wide. Young humans looked up to Kale and the other participants as symbols of what they could achieve. Artists painted murals, storytellers composed epics, and scholars wrote of the courage and intelligence humans had demonstrated. Kyle and Leora worked together to establish programs that encouraged humans to explore, create, and lead. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were admired for their bravery, ingenuity, and heart. Every action they took reinforced the truth Leora had declared: humans were extraordinary. Even among the alien populations, respect grew. Those who had once doubted humans began to collaborate, recognizing that courage and creativity were not bound by species. Leora's vision of equality and inspiration began to take shape. Kyle, now officially the princess's chosen, continued to lead by example. He mentored young humans, encouraged them to explore the stars, and reminded everyone that true strength was not measured by size or technology alone, but by courage, intelligence, and compassion. The Palace of Velaris became a center of learning, innovation, and collaboration. Humans and aliens worked side by side, sharing knowledge, solving problems, and exploring the galaxy together. Kyle and Leora guided them, their partnership a symbol of unity and hope. Years later, historians would look back on the trials as a turning point. The princess's bold declaration had sparked a new era. Humans were no longer underestimated. They were celebrated for the qualities that made them extraordinary. Courage, creativity, intelligence, and compassion were recognized as the true marks of greatness, and humanity had proven itself to the galaxy. Kale stood once more on the palace balcony, looking out over the city. Humans and aliens moved through the streets, working together, creating and exploring. He felt a deep sense of pride, not in himself alone, but in the potential of all humans. Princess Leora joined him, her hand brushing against his. "The galaxy has seen what we can do," she said softly. "And they will never forget it," Kale smiled. "It is only the beginning, Your Highness. Humans will continue to rise, and together we will shape the future." The twin suns of Velaris shone brightly over the palace, reflecting off the crystal towers. The city sparkled, alive with hope, determination, and achievement. The trials had ended, the princess had chosen, and humanity had claimed its place among the stars. A new era had begun. One where humans were celebrated for courage, intelligence, and heart. One where Kale and Leora would guide the kingdom and the galaxy toward a future full of possibilities. One where humans would never again be underestimated. And so, the story of the young princess who chose a human for her future husband became legend. It was a story of courage, wisdom, compassion, and hope. A story that reminded the galaxy that humans, small but extraordinary, could rise to any challenge and inspire generations to come. The stars above Velaris twinkled with promise. The future was bright. Humans had proven their worth, and the galaxy would never look at them the same way again.